Good morning, class. So yesterday we started with the chapter agriculture and we learned agriculture as a primary activity. Then we learned about the different factors which influence agriculture. We learned about the physical inputs, which were topography and relief, climate, soil. Then we learned about the human inputs and we learned how the social, cultural and economic aspects of human life influence the activities, the agricultural activities. Now, today we are going to learn about the different agricultural practices in the world. So, I showed you this flow chart over here given on page number 48. It will be better if you remember it like this, so you will not forget it. Now, coming to page number 48. The agricultural practices can broadly be divided into two main categories depending on physical and human inputs. These types are subsistence agriculture and commercial agriculture. Let us discuss the categories in detail. Now, first of all, we will go to subsistence farming. The term subsistence farming means growing of crop for consumption. The total agricultural output is small. The agricultural inputs include family labor and simple traditional tools. Not much of technology is used in subsistence farming. Mostly food crops or cereal grains are produced. Now, subsistence farming, children, can be further classified into two: primitive subsistence farming and intensive subsistence farming. Let us see what primitive subsistence farming is. This type of farming is generally practiced by the indigenous tribal people in different forested or hilly regions of the world. What are the indigenous tribal people, children? People who exist naturally in a particular environment. It is further divided into two types: shifting cultivation and nomadic herding. So we are talking about subsistence farming, and here right now we are talking about primitive, which can be further classified into shifting cultivation and nomadic herding. So first we will see what shifting cultivation is all about. This type of farming is mostly practiced in the forested areas. In this form of cultivation, a small plot of land is cleared by cutting of trees, burning their undergrowth, and cultivating new crops for a couple of years. When the plot of land loses fertility, it is left barren till it regains fertility. So in this, generally a small plot of land is cultivated by cutting off trees and other kind of vegetation over there. Then a crop is planted for just a couple of years, and then the soil begins to lose its fertility. Therefore, the land is left barren till it regains its fertility. Now, in the meantime, another patch of land is cultivated by the same process. So, because this plot of land is no longer that fertile, so it is left barren, and another patch of land is cleared of trees and other kind of vegetation, and crops are cultivated in the same process. That is why it is called shifting cultivation. We are shifting the cultivation of crops from one plot of land to another. It is also known as slash and burn because you are cutting down the vegetation over there and burning the stubble. In India, tuber crops like yams and tapioca are grown by this method. In shifting cultivation, fertilizers are not used. See, this is why the soil loses its fertility within a couple of years, as there are neither organic nor chemical fertilizers are being used. Now coming to nomadic herding. In many regions of the world, indigenous people keep cattle, sheep and goats as their livestock. These people, along with their animal herds, move from one place to another in search of grazing grounds. So, during the summers, they go, if we are talking about mountain people, during the summers, they'll go higher up in the mountains where new grass is there, and So what is happening when they are wandering from one place to the other? So that particular land or meadow where the cattle had grazed earlier gets enough time to reproduce that particular grass. In parts of Southwest Africa, Northern Eurasia, and parts of West and Central Asia, nomadic herding is practiced. They are still found in semi-arid and arid regions of Sahara, Central Asia, and Rajasthan, and Jammu and Kashmir of India. Now, if we talk about Rajasthan, then you must have often come across herds of sheep being herded from one place to the other. Hundreds of sheep, people herding them from one place to the other. So this is what is happening. What you are seeing is nomadic herding. The shepherds taking their herd to a new place where the cattle can graze freely. Now coming to intensive subsistence agriculture. See this picture I am talking about. In this type of agriculture, traditional methods of cultivation are practiced on small plots with traditional tools and manual labor. Not much of technology is used when we are talking about intensive subsistence agriculture. It has retained some of its features since ancient times and is still practiced under similar climatic conditions with enough sunny days, high humidity, natural rainfall, and fertile soil. Now, in modern times, such things are not so visible except when the farmer in question is really very poor and they cannot afford to have some kind of irrigation. Tilling the land using or harvesting the land using a thresher or a tractor, then understood. But generally people these days, they do have irrigation facilities like water pumps and all, tube wells and all, to irrigate their lands. Depending on natural rainfall, at times there are drought conditions, at times there are floods. So generally this is no longer being practiced. Now, rice, as in ancient societies, is the staple crop, followed by wheat, maize, pulses, and oilseeds. Regular supply of fertilizer and water through irrigation ensures stable production. So, if the soil is properly fertilized and there is enough water available for irrigation, then one can expect a good crop. The land is intensively cultivated twice, sometimes even thrice a year, to meet the demand of food for the dense population. So the different kinds of crops are cultivated in cycle. It is practiced in the Southeast Asian countries like India, Bangladesh, Myanmar, and Indonesia. So when one crop is harvested, the land is left barren for a few weeks. It is, tilled again, fertilizers are added, and a new fresh crop is planted. Now coming to commercial farming. In the commercial farming, crops are grown for the market. So when we were talking about subsistence farming, that was for consumption, but in commercial it is grown for the market. The total agricultural output is very large. So the output, the crop which is finally harvested is very huge. The agricultural inputs include machines, modern scientific know-how, and technology. It is further divided into three types. Now when we are talking about the agricultural output being very large, then it is not just the grains we are talking about. Crops like potato and onions are also harvested in a huge quantity, and then they are stored in cold storages near the nearby villages. Now three different types of commercial farming are extensive farming, plantation, and mixed farming. So let us first see what extensive farming refers to. It refers to a cultivation of crops in an extensive farm of several hundred hectares. So here we are talking about a huge land area. The prairies of the US, the pampas of Argentina, and in Australia, these are grasslands. This type of farming is practiced with large per capita land size. So one single farmer holds the land in huge thousands and thousands of hectares. These regions are sparsely populated, but the arable land availability is vast. So sparsely populated because most of the work is being done using machines. In this type of farming, almost all operations are performed with the help of machines such as harvesters, tillers, levelers, threshers and combines. Now mostly the areas under extensive agriculture are in temperate zone or mid-latitude belts where winters are severe. Thus cropping is restricted to 6 to 8 months of the year. So only one single crop is being harvested because nothing can be, as winters are very severe, so nothing can be planted during the winters. Therefore, extensive farming is often called as commercial grain farming. So one crop cultivated per year, and it is also known as commercial grain farming. Now main crops grown under this type of farming are wheat, corn or maize, oats and vegetables. Now not all vegetables, but vegetables which can survive in cold storage for a long duration. In comparatively drier parts of the mid-latitude regions, drier parts where there is not much rainfall, large herds of cattle, sheep and goat are reared for milk and meat products. Now children, when we are talking about the prairies of the US, so where the land is flat, okay, extensive farming is taken up. But when we go higher up in the mountains, that same prairie region has mountainous slopes also, so there cattle rearing is taken up. These animals reared in organized farms of hundreds of acres are called as ranches in North America and estancias in Argentina of South America. This type of animal rearing or on commercial basis is known as livestock herding. So over here you see certain pictures. One is of intensive farming, that is a small piece of land, whereas on the right you see the extensive farming and you can see it's a huge tract of land. Now today we'll end here, and in the next video we'll take up plantation farming, mixed farming and the crops. So I want you to give these topics: the commercial farming, under which we did extensive farming, a thorough study, intensive subsistence agriculture, nomadic herding, shifting cultivation and shifting cultivation and nomadic herding are good thorough study. Anything which you have not understood, please make sure to note it down and we will discuss it when the school reopens. Till that time, stay safe. Thank you.